We are talking about structured student talk using technology. So what we're going to talk about today is really looking at navigating and using tech tools for structured student talk implementation and having practical strategies for implementing these tools. So things that we can use, how we can use them in the classroom, how we can make it work with our existing classroom structures, and then creating or modifying one lesson. So we should have some time today to really look at one of our lessons or to modify a project that we've already done or an activity that we already do to incorporate some structured student talk technology tools. So with this, and with most technology things, we want to start gradually and then increase the complexity with it, but we have that with there. So those are kind of our three main things, is to kind of talk about some things, to think about some practical strategies, and then to apply them. So why are the benefits of using structured student talk with technology? And so this, I actually what mentioned earlier about having Flip and RIP Flip, but for me, Flip really was kind of a game changer in the classroom because it really allowed me to really engage students and hold them accountable more. And so one thing that I like doing with technology and using technology is that having that engagement. So for one, if we're having students record themselves or record their audio or record conversations, everybody must participate. There is no more of that, only the person who is in the front of the room gets to speak. Everybody is engaged and participating. The second, and this one was huge for me, was that accountability piece. So by incorporating technology and having students record things and to use technology for conversations, there was, for one, I can do lots of different ways of showcasing structured student talk, and then I could hold them accountable. So if I was on one side of the room and a group is on the other side of the room, as I come towards them, they might be on task and having that conversation relevant to what I want them to be doing. But as soon as I walk away, that academic discourse might stop and they might start talking about something else. And so this is a way we can hold kids accountable. It's also a way for me to view student work. So not only am I having students write, but now I can have them and be able to grade them on their conversation skills or their speaking skills with it. And then this one is also big for me, is less pressure for kids who might be especially a little bit more shy for classroom presentations. Classroom presentations, by the way, have their place, have their time. I want kids to practice speaking in front of each other as well and having that more higher stakes presentation. But for other things, maybe they need a little bit less pressure. And so being able to use technology for that gives them the ability to stop and to think and to read. And they don't need to be on the spot while they're talking. They can really kind of refine how they're speaking. So it's also a great way for them to practice, maybe for those higher stakes presentations we want to have them do, or kind of scaffolding those talking points with there. So if you've taken any PD with me or Jen, this is a thing that I will harp on forever. And so I'm not sorry if you're sick of me and this slide and this picture, but this is really kind of my main point as an ed tech, is that the tools that we use with technology are going to change. And this image comes from Robin Paul's presentation. I think it's over 10 years old, and I think it just emphasizes that point even better as it gets older, because we don't want kids, the technology is not what we want kids to be focused on. Our goal shouldn't be having kids make Prezzies, because Prezzies isn't really, it's still around, but not as much as it used to be, right? Or to use Flip, or to create Wordles, or these things that may not last, because we know that tech changes really quickly and that companies come and go and they switch and they merge. And so technology, if we know one thing, it's going to change. Instead, we need to be thinking about what we want students to be doing with technology. So we want them to be raising awareness and starting conversations and finding answers to things and collaborating with one another. So whenever we set out to use something, we are setting out with skill focused. So what do we want kids to be doing? What skills do they need to be doing? And kind of, I think one of my biggest harping on points is the purpose. Why are we doing it? Because technology is a tool that we're using to build those skills, not the learning outcome. So no matter what we're using, we're kind of be focused on that. So for today's session, we're going to be looking at some tools. And so this is going to be kind of like a quicker rapid fire of like going over some of these tools that we can use. All of these tools that we're covering over today are tools that we have purchased by the district. So there's no like outsider things coming in or like things that you need to like sign up for. These are tools that we have access to. And we're going to just be focusing on little quick tidbits of those tools within there. And so we'll focus on specifically on the recording or how we can use these in the classroom or how I've structured it in the classroom to be using with this. So we're going to cover Google Classroom, and actually it's vids and slides, but all of that can be done through Google Classroom, so that's why the icon's there. Canva, Cami, Formative, Screencastify, and Adobe Express. And so today's structure, we have like about 2 hours together. We're going to kind of go through, and so I'll show you and kind of demo a quick tool or like how we can use it, give you some resources that we can use with it, give you some practice time with it, and then at the end of like all of the little demos, we'll have some work time so that you can be able to like actually go through and create and to build something that you can use in like 2 weeks because the beginning of the school year, the first day of school is coming quickly. So with that said, my presentation, I'm going to be jumping back and forth from. We're going to, a lot of my presentations has a lot of resources. I like it to be very resource heavy, but we're going to be demoing and actually going into each one of the presentations as we go through there. So the first one we're going to talk about today is slides and vids. So both of these are Google projects. And there's some templates here. And again, if you click, these are like resource heavy projects. So if you click on any of these images, it's going to take you to that. So with that. So first thing that I want to showcase with Google Slides, and I just made a copy of the presentation, the template that was linked. So one of the things that I really like having students do is StoryCorps, the Great Listen. And this, if you are interested in this project, I have a whole presentation about StoryCorps that I've done before, but I would love to bring in more StoryCorps into classrooms, so let me know. But one of the things that I have my students around November, it's with a great Thanksgiving listen is a StoryCorps project, is to do an interview with somebody. And so we kind of build upon this. So this notebook here is that kind of interview and that notebook. So just to kind of give you a preference or context of what slides I'm looking at here. But, and I'm using these slides just as an example of like something that I've had students do that where I needed them to insert an audio, I needed them to insert something, but we can do these tools with any of those slides possible that we have. So if you go into your slides here, you're going to see this sidebar that is popped up. And one thing that we can do in Google Slides now is to record directly into Google Slides. So when we're here, we can go to this sidebar here, and now we're going to see this view and create recorded slideshows. So when I click on this, I can record a new video, and it's going to bring me to this screen. And so with this screen, I have lots of like different options. I can view the speaker notes, which when I clicked it, it popped up, but you guys can't see it because I don't have that tab that's shared. So I can have these speaker notes that are right here, and I can go through here. So if I hit record, it's going to say allow and give me a countdown. And now I can record directly in Google Slides, and I can actually move these. So I can go through here and go through this presentation. So if you are having kids present and do like a classroom presentation, like have them create slides and do them the classroom presentation, this could be a great practice before they actually go and speak in front of the big class. So this, again, we can scaffold it in, or this could be the final thing where you're having kids go through the slides, they're discussing their slides, they're talking about it, they're going through it. And then once they're done, they're going to hit pause recording, or you can do this. This could be a great flipped classroom activity where you're actually teaching and like going through the here. And then I can either record or save to drive. And so once I have that here, it's going to bring me back to my slide presentation, and it's going to like kind of pop up here. Now, one thing that I would recommend doing, that if you are having kids present slides and you're having a presentation, have them on like the last slide, or have a template where it says like your interview link here, or to put in your interview link here, because you can now directly put in that presentation for this. So I can insert that video by going to Insert, Video, and I'm going to click Google Drive and Recent, and now I have it popped up here. And then I can resize it.
And now I can record directly in Google Slides.
And you don't need to hear my voice again, but now I can do this. Yeah, it should just pop up on the side there for you guys. So the bar, when I pop up, it's just automatically there. Let me make sure. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys are seeing that bar? So it should just be on the side here. Oh, yeah. So if you're not seeing that bar, it's because you're not in the editing mode. So if you're in somebody else's presentation, it's not going to say there. So if for your slides, if you go to File, Make a Copy, then you'll be able to like edit and go through it. It has to be in your editing mode here. So for students, this is what I would actually have them do now. So I used to have them give a choice of like how they could record. I still like choices and things. But for kids, if I want to have them present, if I want them to be able to like go through their videos, I would actually just have a space like right here where I could have them insert their video, and then I would just watch the video for their presentation. This also could be a really great teaching moment too. If you can create a class set of slides, maybe you create a class deck and you're having kids like jigsaw or want to have them teach each other concepts or do vocabulary words, have them create their own slides, record their own slides, and then instead of inserting their presentation in those slides, create a class deck and have them pick, like insert their video on the class slides. And now you have a whole resource where students can teach each other these concepts or have this like whole notebook full of stuff here. So the slides is like really cool. Or like I'm so excited that they like just decided to embed that in directly. So with that said, I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes to kind of play around with that. So again, make sure you're in an editing slide. So you can be at any slides that you have editing access to, and then just play around with recording, kind of going through it, and then inserting. So again, I went to Insert Video and Recent to go through that. So I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to kind of play around with Google Slides. I know I was like so excited when Google decided to add this in here. Couple more, we'll have more time to play around with that, but I wanted to show you guys that feature first. For one, because so many of us work in Google Slides just naturally, and so the fact that we can just do everything in Google Slides with the recording, the fact like I would love to do this like a flip classroom to give those resources without having to go to Loom or anywhere else is just so nice. And then especially with having students being able to do it directly in there. The next thing I want to showcase, and sorry, one of my earbuds I think is dying, but it's better than my other headphones right now. And I also apologize for outside noise. We are in the middle of the construction zone at Alice. We have construction going on like all 4 sides. So sorry if you're hearing that in the background too. But the next thing I want to show, and I put the link in here, and this is Google Vids. And Vids is a newer feature. It's been around for a couple of months now. But if you go to vids.google.com, you'll see there here. And what this is a video editing tool within Google itself. And so you can start a new video and we can create clips. AI is everywhere. So there's like AI embedded stuff. You can record and share. So that if you want to just like record your screen, record something, you can also even take your slides and be able to create videos from your slides here. But I'm just going to click on record and share. And so I have all of these options now to record. So I can share my screen, and this is getting a little meta because like I'm in Google Meet sharing these recording videos, but I can record all of these directly at once. Hold on, it's doing, there we go. So I can start recording and I can have all of these editing features directly in here. But what this does is that it gives me, once I stop recording here, and I didn't record anything. So you're wondering where my image is because I didn't actually record it. But this is a whole video creation thing. So on the sidebar here, I can write a script. I can use AI for this. I can upload from my Drive things. I have stock images that I can use. I can put in text, and they also have in like some templates that I can use with text. So you can actually do a more formal video editing thing directly in here. Now, one thing that I like about scripts too is that you can have students write like their essay. And I'm just going to grab an essay from my Drive. And I can do, and I'm going to use for this essay, if you guys are familiar with the AP language, I'm just going to take one of their sample essays. In the scripts, I can go to scripts here and I can add a script. So I'm going to paste it all into here and I can record. I'm going to just record the camera. And one thing that it does when I have the scripts is now it gives me a teleprompter. So kids can actually look at this and be able to have a teleprompter within Google. So I just put in my script. With the teleprompter, you also have some different ways to do this. Rolling was the one I did, and I found this to be like really fast for me. So what rolling does is when I hit start recording, it's going to start rolling. Oh, now I made it too slow, but it's going to start rolling like a teleprompter. So if you're using that one, just be aware of like the speed, because the first time I did this, it was like way too fast and it wasn't even that fast. So just kind of like have that teleprompting thing. I'm going to hit, since I stopped it, I'm going to redo this. So I'm going to hit restart, click continue. We also have manual, so we can like scroll down on our own, but we also have this read along feature too. And so what this does is it's going to recognize when I read. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to say the unknown is a concept of the crippling anxiety of many. There is fear in the unfamiliar, the possibility of failure, of danger, of embarrassment. And so as I'm reading it, it's recognizing what I'm reading and it's moving along at my own pace. Now, it's recognizing that I'm reading words, and so it's still moving along, but it's obviously not on cue anymore. But this is one way that I can have this teleprompting that's kind of going at my own speed there too. So again, with this, let me get out of this here. So with that, I went to scripts and then I just copied and pasted, like, so if you have kids doing an essay, if you have kids that are reading their paragraphs, you can have them actually copy and paste their paragraphs in here and be able to read and record themselves that way and to put that in here. They can also do uploads, they can do images, and this is just kind of elevates like that kind of just more like creating that presentation. It creates more of a video along with it. The other thing with this and with vids is you can create the template. So I have like a couple templates I was messing around with that like I really like my kids doing a reflection. And I want kids to be able to justify what they wrote, to kind of explain what they wrote. So this could be a way to do those like justifications, especially in the age of AI, where I want them to be able to talk about what they wrote and to understand and like to just kind of have that as another double check. But I can't sit down and have a conversation with every student. So this could be a good way of doing that. Before I totally let you guys play with that though, I want to show you that in Google Classroom, you can also have those vids there too and insert them. So I can go to classwork and go to assignment and then go to create, and I can create vids and create like a template for students, or maybe I just want students to be able to create a video on their own and kind of give them freedom, but I want them to use vids to do it. File sharing options, just like with Google Slides or Google Docs, but now I can make a copy for each student. So each student is going to get their own vid that I have in there, and I can put that in as well. If you have vid templates, you can also put that in. So if I have like my English essay vid, essay, I can insert this. This is a template that I made that I want students to work with. I can add this here, and now I can make a copy for each student, and they're going to be able to manipulate it to be able to create their own with it. So this is another really kind of easy way to create videos and to do things all within the Google sphere of things. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to kind of play around with vids. I just went over a lot with that, but play around with vids, kind of mess with it a little bit. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to kind of mess with it, try to make it into a goal assignment, kind of do your thing with it. So I'll give you guys about 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, feel free to unmute or to put it in the chat. Yeah, so Jensen, the question about seeing each other's vids. So there's a couple ways that we can kind of work around that. And one thing I didn't mention on here was like Padlet, just because they've been weird on pricing structure this year or like the last year. But Padlet is also resources, but I would have them do, there's a couple ways that we can kind of do this. And what I would actually have them do is I am a big fan, and I know not everybody is, of creating class text. And so I've had kids like just have the class text where they can have their videos all put in there and then use the commenting tools in order to replace there. So it's kind of the easiest way that we can do that with that. The other thing that I think though you're going to be really interested in is the Screencastify, because Screencastify is their feature is the one that most closely mimics Flipgrid in the way that we kind of were used to Flipgrid. So yeah, there is a way that like it kind of naturally that kind of looks like Flipgrid, and that's with the Screencastify. But for any of these, I would have you'll see in some of my templates and stuff too, where I'm like a big fan of class text, and then I kind of like use them a lot in the classroom, and then that's kind of how I'll get it with this. But I think you're gonna really like Screencastify once we get to it. Because yeah, some of them are a little more limiting of like having kids with you and to see. Oh, you don't see the vid options. All right, let me look. It should be there for everybody. All right, I'll look into yours and see why it's not showing up. Okay, it should have been available to everybody, but let me look and double check our things. But you should still have the vids as an option, like vids.google.com. But let me double check with our account and make sure it's not, because it should have been showing up for everybody now. But you see it in the waffle, okay. I know Google had Jamboard was also my jam. I know that's Jamboard was, when Jamboard went away, I cried a little because that Jamboard, oh, that was definitely my jam there. All right, so with that said, I'll look into the vids and make sure why it's not showing in Google Classroom, and it should, but you should still have access to it, and students should still have access to it going to vids.google.com or like seeing it in your waffle there too. And yeah, I definitely like things in the ecosystem, which is why I tend to try to present on things that we have and we use. So with that, a couple of other options I want to show you guys. One is with Cami, and I use Cami a lot, especially when I wanted to have like different things. Let me open it. Oh, nice, cool. Okay, James, I'll have to look at your video and see, but I see it. It's on my tab now. All right, so with the Cami, and if you click on one of these templates, it should bring you to the Cami. For this template here, it's not showing up. Oh. For the second one, it's a Google Docs, so you would have to open in Cami if you want to use it. But one thing I want to show you guys with Cami is we can also do this with Cami as well. If our goal is to get students speaking and listening and like practicing that. So with this option, we aren't going to, it's not a great way to like, if you want kids to watch each other's videos, it's more for you as a teacher in this way. But once I open Cami, you can also open up any document in Cami. You're going to see all of these same features within Cami. I just wanted to show you an example of like how I would use it in the classroom and how I would do it. So like one thing we have students do is like soapboxes. So I would have them like write their speech, do it there, and then record their speech and place it there. So again, I'm practicing the students' writing and then speaking skills with this. So with this, in Cami, we can go to the commenting tools. And when you click on comment, you're going to see text comment, voice comment, or video comments. And you can also do screen captures as well. So if I just want my students to practice speaking, I can click on voice comment and then click somewhere like right here. And as soon as, just be warned, as soon as you click it, it's going to start recording. So we don't get the nice countdown, you just click it. So I always have to tell students that once you click it, you kind of commit to it. So I use Cami more when it's like informal discussions or I want students just practicing speaking versus like having a more polished thing. But this is a really great way, especially if you're using Cami already, you can put that in. So for my math teachers, this could be a really great way, or my science teachers, like if you're in Cami, you're having kids like write on it, use it like a whiteboard, like doing all of their handwritten stuff, you can now have them like explain their answers and be able to verbalize their answers and their thinking versus just like writing down the steps with it. So this is a really good way to do that. You can also leave video comments, so we can have students use video comments in this way. Oh, I gotta allow access, I'm like switching over stuff. The other thing is if you go to the other template that I have there, the Google Doc, let me share this one and open it in Cami. This was an actual assignment that I did to open it, that I did with students. And I'm a big fan of group work and group projects and group things, getting them to collaborate. So this one did take a little bit more on setup, just FYI. Google Classroom now has groups where you can put students into groups, which would have made my life so much easier when I was doing this assignment. But you could have students in groups, and so that they're all working on the same document. And then at the end of the document, I would have them do a group discussion. And so what that would look like is I would have one person do voice comment, hit record, or if you're doing partners, you can even do the video comments. But I would have one person who would hit record and be responsible for hitting record, and they would have a class discussion and a group discussion. So this was a really nice way to kind of bring in that group discussion part of it to really kind of hold kids accountable for the group work. And then looking at my skills, I would glance over and see that they would do their work. In Canva, you can also see who worked on what, so I can be able to kind of like see and just kind of spot check it there. But a lot of times for these assignments, what I was really like analyzing was their class discussion or like their group discussion with it. So this was a way that I can hold them accountable for having those class and those academic discussions without having to be like physically present with each group and be like marking off. I could still have them in kind of like smaller groups, give everybody a chance to speak and be able to do it that way. So this was something I assigned as a group. They all worked on the same document together and then had their group discussion together. And then I went through and listened to the group discussion with that. So any questions on Cami with that? All right. I'm going to move ahead and go over Canva. And in the spirit of looking at group discussions, Canva is one that I did. Well, for one, if you know me, for those who know me that I love Canva. I love me some Canva. But it's kind of become a joke. But with that, looking at these I also did a lot because I could kind of do the things. Jensen mentioned in the chat about Jamboards, and so Canva was my kind of way of replacing Jamboards a little bit, and being able to like do those type of activities. So you can actually do that in Canva. The templates that I have posted here are, let me go ahead and view it. It will make you a template and then you can work on it, kind of do it on your own. But a lot of the times when I talked about class decks aren't for everyone. I personally love them. But what I would have them do is like with this particular class deck is this was assigned to everybody. So everybody was working on the same deck. And what I did, just to give you some background of how I structured this, is that each table, each group had a different color that they were responsible for. Now, with this said, I did do a lot of setup at the beginning of the year of like, instead of having them maybe jump into assignment, we're doing a get to know you activity where we're all looking on class deck, and I can kind of like hound the kids that may not like be a little bit more off task or like are trying to scroll around. So we kind of built this a little bit where I started with something lower stakes, like get to know you, put your favorite image, interview a partner, where we're all working on the same slide deck, and then kind of built it up more academically. But and they also became kind of routine. So if you're interested in class decks, I highly recommend something small, something simple to start with, and then kind of make it part of the routine, part of the structure with it. With this, again, I'm going back to StoryCorps. I wanted a different way of looking at StoryCorps, and so this was kind of my solution for that. So each table has a different color, and so when kids need to pick their slides individually, they go to their table color. So table 1 is going to be yellow, table 2 or table 3 is going to be blue, and so forth. So it takes out a little bit of that. They're only focusing on certain slides. But what you can have students do within Canva, whether you're working a slide deck or having them create in Canva on their own, is you can have them record. So what we did as a class is we watched the video and we watched the mission statement for StoryCorps. And then as a group, they had to answer what is the purpose of a StoryCorps and have a couple-minute discussion about it. So to record in Canva, you go to Uploads and record yourself. Now we have like this AI generated voice, but you can just do a talking head. Allow while visiting the site. Apparently I need all my things there. And now I can record. And same thing as like what we had with Google Slides, and within Google Slides is you can still move around. So if you are having kids do presentations, you can have them create the presentation and just like Google Slides, record and be able to like move through the presentation if you want. But most of the time, I really just wanted kids to just have that conversation and record that conversation. They can turn off the camera. So maybe I don't need the camera on. So I'm going to say no camera, and then what microphone that they have. And now we can record this conversation. So groups would record, they would have it done. Once I'm finished recording, I click done and exit studio. Oh, save and exit, sorry. And it goes to my uploads here. So now I have my face here, and I can now just put it where I wanted it to. So groups would record, they would have it done. Don't need to hear my voice again. But here I could have students go into Canva and be able to record. And so I'm now looking at just one slide deck that would have all of the groups' recordings on it. So this is a way that I could kind of hold groups accountable again. I would listen to the recordings, talk to those individual groups if I need to the next day, and to be able to kind of like really kind of hold that academic conversation with it. Just so you can see how the rest of the slide works and how this lesson worked is after they did their recording, students picked their individual slides and went, and this was just like their own individual slides that kids worked on individually. And then at the end of individual work time, they got back together and had to create something on their group slides. So even if you're not going as far as complex, I've done a lot of different ones. If we go to these Avid tutorials, having kids, there was a point where my Avid kids weren't really on task, so I started having them record. Oh, no, what was, I got kicked out of my classroom, and so I was in the library because we had testing going on, and so I got kicked out. So kids were all over the place, and I needed to like kind of hold them a little bit more accountable. So I just created a slide that just put table 1, table 2, table 3, and as they were doing their Avid tutorials, they were recording it, and so that they could have that all within there. So that's kind of a way that we can kind of work within and be able to like record and hold groups accountable for conversations with there. But like Canva, just like vids too, you can have students create presentations, be able to record individually as well there too. That was a lot of me talking about Canva. Again, when we work in Canva, it's going to uploads and record yourself to be able to record. So with that, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to work in either Canva or Cami, because I didn't give you guys time after Cami to work, and to kind of play and explore before we move on to the next thing. So about 5 minutes to play around with Canva, to play around with Cami. And Silvano, I see your comment about students preferring Canva, and I had the same experience for students, and maybe it's just because I really love Canva too, so I might have been that might have been my biases in my classroom. But one thing I do want to share with you guys in Canva, and one of the ways that I went to it, is the screen I'm sharing now is the presenter's screen, and so I get all these like notes and things that I can see. But one of the main things that I did is you can click on this remote here, and so I'm going to use my phone to capture the QR code. And what it does, and this is totally just an extra feature, is, oh, it's not going to show it very well. So what my phone has now is I can actually go through, and now I have a remote to use in my presentation. So I can now walk around the classroom, I can walk around my presentation and be able to control the slides using my phone. And so this was a really like, oh, awesome way that I can have it and be able to like go through it and to like be able to work within Canva without having any of their fancy things. The other thing that I really like about it is you have these controls. Oh, you can add timers, but you can also, I'll show you where you can add, if you just click on 5 in your Canva presentation or 6, it pops up the timer automatically. So I have a timer that's set there. And then these magic shortcuts, which I actually also have on my phone. You can't really see it because it's blaring out there. But now I have these magic shortcuts that I can have here. And let me switch over to the actual presentation so it's a little easier to see. So if I want, like, I can click on bubbles, and now like bubbles are popping up. Like maybe a student did like said something really awesome, and now I can do a mic drop or like celebrate student. I can do like a curtain call. So just like fun. I'm really cheesy in my like teaching, and I just like it. There's a drum roll, and then my favorite to use with high schoolers. Quiet now, especially things. So these were like some of the features of like why I kind of went with Canva more so now than I do with Google Slides. It's just because it's like so easy to use those features or like to have those like without anything else. I just need my phone, and now I can like have controls of my presentation. Another thing I want to show you guys within Canva too is if we're talking about like Jamboard-y type things, in the editing mode of Canva, if you click on these 3 dots here of your slide, you can expand this to whiteboard, and now you have a whiteboard space that you can use and to write on. So with teaching, it's like really cool, but I also have students use this as the whiteboard. I prefer using the Canva presentations and then expanding to whiteboard more than I like their whiteboards that are made for this, just because it gets a little like funky. But you have all of that access with it. So just want to show those features while we're talking about Canva, because they're really nice features to have that that I just really like. So just little preview here. All right, and then the next one is formative, and now this is again going to be one of those things. Informative in itself is going to be if you just want kids to practice. They're not going to be able to see each other's unless you display each other's videos and things on the board. But when I go into formative, so if you go to formative.com or log in through Clever or go through there, when you go to create a formative or open a formative that you already have, I'm going to just create a new one. You can add question or content, and you, if you're not familiar with formative, the content are the things that you are giving students, and then all of these are the things that students are doing with it. So content, like if I want to speak, content's really nice if I want my EL students to be able to listen and to hear and to like not just see it, if I want them to be able to listen to it as well. I can also do video as well, but then I can also have students do the same thing. So I can have students do an audio response. And so when they have this audio response, then they have to record themselves doing it. And one thing that's really nice about this too with Formative is that you can actually have lots of different ways of having students respond. So a lot of the times I wanted my students to write, like, no tech, write down your paragraph. But I don't want to take home their notebooks. I'm not that strong. And so I can do a file response and students can upload a picture of their notebook. But what I really want them to do is to be able to speak it and to practice speaking it. So now they can do an audio response of their notebook. Another question type here is the video response. So you can have students do a video response, and when they do the video response, again, it could be a video or a screen recording. So if you're a math teacher and you want to have them explain the steps of the previous question of what they just did, you can do that all within Formative, and you'll be able to see all of that all at once. And so this was really nice, especially for my ALL students, where I really wanted them to practice speaking and listening skills and to be able to have that. So as you can see in some of the Canva sites that I have, I would have them write in their journal, upload that file response to say that paragraph, have them be able to look at all of that. And so this is a really, really great tool if you want students to practice speaking. I wouldn't necessarily do this as like a presentation necessarily, but just to get those practice skills and to get those to really embed that as part of the normal classroom structure of having them speak within that. So again, with Formative, when you create a question, you can add that new item, and it's the audio response or the video response within there. And with that, I'll go ahead and we're going to move on to the next one just so I can get us some more practice time and play time with it. So the next couple, so all of these we have within like kind of our ecosystem. I think a lot of us use one of those in ways already. We are probably already using Google Slides, or we might be using Cami or Canva or Formative. These are probably part of like at least one of these is part of your normal like classroom routines and structures. The next couple you may not be as familiar with or may not be as part of routine, but we do have them and I want to kind of showcase them. Jensen asked earlier about how do I get kids to see the videos just like Flipgrid. Like Flipgrid's loss was huge because it was so easy to have kids record and to like be able to do all of that in there. So Screencastify, they released last year, a couple months ago, they released their Submit, and that has been the closest replica of what Flip used to do instead. And I haven't used it as much because I've been using kind of these other tools, but I want to kind of show what this looks like within it. So you can get to Screencastify. You might have the Screencastify icon already on there, or you can click on just screencastify.com and then log in with your school account. Now I have a ton of videos with Screencastify because Screencastify is my go-to as an ed tech of like recording things, like having things go through. I also really like that you can get GIFs of things. I say GIFs, not GIFs. So I can download these videos. I can download them as GIFs if I only want like a little bit of something and then insert it into a Google Doc so it's like a moving picture in it. But Screencastify, their Submit is most similar to what Flipgrid had. So if I click on Submit here, this is a way where I can create a topic and assign it to my kids with kind of like really similar to what we had, right? So I can either create my own, or I can search their templates and to kind of see. So let's say I'm English teacher, I want a book report. And then I have my topic details, my instructions. How do I want kids to record? Maybe I just want a screen recording or webcam only, however I want them to do it. What's the recording limit? Maybe I want them to have, I think it's up to 5 minutes or unlimited, but maybe I want them to be really short and concise. Like you have a soapbox speech and you only have 2 minutes. I'm cutting you off at 2 minutes. So you can set those limits, those points, and then you can either share it by generating a link or you can connect it with your Google Classroom and you can put it into Google Classroom and share it within that Google Classroom. So I'm going to use my fake class, set my topic, and have all of that. Now, it doesn't have all of the same, we got really spoiled with Flip of like, they can kind of do all these things and I can really set things down. We don't quite have all of that yet, but it's getting there. And so I can assign and create this in here. It's creating it. And now I can see I have this icon here, which means that it is with Google Classroom. So when I click on this, I am in my Google Classroom. It takes me directly there. And so now I've assigned it and I have it, and kids can just click on this link and record directly. So this is what students see when they go to record. So it tells them their instructions, the recording type, and then I can turn it on. Apparently over summer when I must have cleared my cache because it goes through. And so I can choose what I want, what screen I want them to do. I'm going to do an entire screen, get a little meta. And now I'm like totally, oh, you guys can't see my screen. Now I have like a billion other versions of me because I'm getting a little meta with my recording here. But now I'm recording and I can go through this and talk about my book report, kind of go through this, stop recording, and now I have this video that I can.
I'm like, totally, oh, you guys can't see my.
And so I can go there and then I can go through this. So I'm previewing this as a teacher, so I'm not able to submit it, but students would be able to submit through there. So the Screencastify templates are in, let me go back to this tab here. So once I hit, let's see. So in the submit, so on the side here, there's a submit and the templates are, I can search the topics here, but it was all through like here. Is there templates? There's not a whole lot of templates yet. This is kind of like our newer product, but there's a couple here, or I can search, like maybe like back to school and see if they have anything here yet. Awesome. All right, I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to go over if you want to practice with Formative, if you want to practice with Screencastify, kind of get familiar with these. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do so. Yeah, too. For this, let me go back to Screencastify. Accidentally, I was trying to clean up my tabs because all of a sudden I have like too many tabs open as the norm for me. So I was like, I'm going to clean them up a little bit and then close the wrong ones. So once you're in that submit, and I have, let's see, music practice here. Under settings, you can either generate a link and give students a link that way, or you can hook it up with your Google Classroom here. So either one should be able to, and you might have to set up your Google Classroom with it, but it should give you the steps right there. Cool. Oh, and I just realized, I'm glad you understood what I was talking about when I had that, because I thought I was sharing the other screen. So all the joys of online presenting, not sharing the correct screens, but I'm glad it seems like you got it. All right, and then last one I want to share, and then we'll have time to take a break and really kind of like figure out how we might use this in our classroom, is Adobe Express. So I always just like Google it, like express.adobe.com. So that's what I put in the chat there. But we do have it as part of it. I think we might be able to access it through Clever. I always just like go directly to it. But so once you're here, sign in with Google and make sure you sign in with your school account. Let's see, I think it still puts me with it. Nope, I did it wrong. Let me go back. Oh, it still has it there within it. Okay, it's changing a little bit. So with Adobe Express, there's a couple of things that we can do with this. So there's a lot you can do with Adobe Express. It's very similar to Canva as far as like having kids create things. So if you haven't played with Adobe Express in general or Canva in general, highly recommend just playing around and checking on those things, because there's things that we can do within Adobe Express that you can have students create. You can have students like do lots of things. And sorry, they changed this slightly. Of course, I had it all set up and yesterday. Okay. If where you go to where it says more ways to start, and then you can kind of like go through where it says like Instagram story, if you go all the way to the end, you should be able to see animate characters. So for this, we can actually create scenes and characters and be able to have students bring them to life. So students can kind of pick their character. So let's say I want to be up here. I can change my background. Ooh, I'm going to put it in a dungeon. Maybe I want to be I'll be Billy. Okay, so Billy in the background here. Now I can record this, and so it's only 2 minutes, so very short things. This is really a great way to get kids to practice, to kind of get out of their shell a little bit, but I can hit record always while using the site. So I'm going to say, hello, my name is Amber. I am so excited for the beginning of the school year. And click done, and it takes a little bit, especially the longer that you have. So it's thinking about it and it's going to sync. But I wanted to show this one because, again, if we want our kids to practice speaking, they might be a little bit more camera shy, or we want to kind of build in something like that's a little lower stakes, a little bit more fun. This is a great way to kind of do that and to kind of animate these characters and to still practice those speaking skills, but have them. So now I have them here. Oh, it's wrapping up. I'm going too fast. It always seems a lot slower when you're like on camera and doing the presentation, but we have this. But this, again, like I said, could be a really great way to kind of just like get kids out of their shells a little bit, to kind of like begin easing into this and do something a little bit more creative and fun with speaking skills. Wrapping up. But once it's done, it's going to animate the character and actually be able to like bring it to life. So with this, students can, like, I really think my ALL class could have like benefited for this, where I like want them, but my kids were like really shy. It took them a lot to get out of their shell. So just doing something a little bit more creative, and also to kind of see what they're interested in too, like which avatars are they picking, which backgrounds are they're picking within. So it's taking a little bit longer than it should. So let's see, it's probably because we're all back to school going through here. All right, won't wait for that. But I've been talking for a long time. We've been exploring a lot of different things. I'm gonna have you guys go on break, and then after break, we can come back and we can listen to the Adobe Express part of it to kind of see where we can animate voices, where we can create those videos within it. When we come back from break, we'll have lots of time to practice and explore and to ask questions. But I do want to, I've been talking for a while, so I want to give you guys a break. So we'll come back in 15 minutes. Let me put a 9. We'll come back in 15 minutes, but feel free to ask questions to explore. And then once we come back from break, I'll show you what Adobe Express looks like. All right, we'll come back together for a break, and I was glad for the regrouping break. So I realized I was like, Adobe Express does not look the Wi-Fi it should have. So I think I was clicking too fast. Make sure that when you sign into Adobe Express, even though it showed my same email address, because I put a personal account, it was not giving me the education one, even though my email address was the same. So if you're not seeing kind of like a similar screen to what I'm seeing for Adobe Express, make sure you sign out, and then when you log in, put you're using this for education or this is for a school account, because that was my mistake. That's why I was like, it's not totally looking the same, but that's partially why. So we do have a lot of features with the education account, and so I can kind of go through this. But first, when you animate a character, so this was my character, it's down. Now I can preview it.
Hi, I'm Amber, and I'm so excited for the start of the school year.
And now I can, if I am happy with the way that it is, I can either download it or I can open it in Editor. So I'm going to click on Editor. So now I can like add things to it. I have like a full editing thing that I can make this part of a bigger video. I can like add themes or other animations to it, but I have a full animation that I can do it within it. So when you open an editor, you can kind of change everything. You can kind of switch. You can have that full video editing directly within here. So then I can share this and I can download it. I can add this as a template to my class because I'm an educator account, but I can have that full access within there. But going back to the educator account on Adobe Express, there's so much in here we will not have time for, but I do want to kind of just point out a couple things. Adobe Express is very good, especially with like educators of like creating templates. And so like I know around Christmas time, it was like design your own like ugly sweater, like there was like things like that. And they have a lot of like AI infused things. So it's kind of like a safer way to kind of start talking about AI if you are wanting to do that. But there's a lot of things that you could have like kids create posters. We used to, as ed techs, like one of our beginning things a couple years ago is we created a poster about us. And then the ed techs at the time printed them. I think Jen was an ed tech, printed them and gave them to us and delivered them. So lots of really cool things within Adobe Express and a lot of like kind of easier ways to go in. I personally get a little overwhelmed by Adobe Express. There's so much that's there that I'm really glad they have kind of like little things that you can do. But if you are interested in doing more, I highly recommend creating classes. So you can create classrooms on here, and then you can have classes within here. You can import students. So if I have through here, I can add students through Google Classroom and import a roster through Google Classroom and put it that way. I can create galleries where I can have students like collaborate. So as an avid teacher, I would probably create an end of the semester gallery and have students like add their favorite projects that they've done throughout the year, things like that. So, and then you can assign assignments directly. So if you want kids to create a video, if you want them to do the animated character, you can just assign it directly through there and post the link in Google Classroom with that. The other thing I want to point out, like I said, I personally get a little overwhelmed by Adobe Express because I'm like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So one thing here is the educator resources is that they have a lot of resources. You can pick by subject and by grade level, but they have a lot of resources here that we can kind of use and you can kind of go through. So if you're feeling the same way about Adobe Express, I highly recommend checking out these educator resources, taking a tour of Adobe Express for Education, doing those classrooms and all of these resources that are available with it. But I really like the activity of the animated character because I think it is a really fun way to bring in speaking skills in a really low stakes way where kids like, it's not them speaking, it's the character speaking, and they can kind of go through that. So with that said, it is now time. You guys have about 45 minutes right now to go through and have kind of like sandbox time, and I'm here to answer questions. If anybody wants to work together, I can also put people into breakout rooms if you would like to do that. But I just went over a lot of stuff in this last like hour and a half, from Google Vids and slides, recording in slides, and Cami and Canva and Adobe Express and Screencastify. So in this sandbox time, I want, like, this is really your time, and especially knowing that the beginning of the school year, that first day of school, is creeping up on us really, really fast. So maybe think of like either what is the assignment that you can do in your first week that might introduce some of these, get the ball rolling on some of these structured student talk activities that we can do. How can we start introducing them into our classes? Maybe you're using this time in the next 45 minutes, I just went over a lot, to just explore and play and find those features, like really kind of do a deep dive maybe in one of them. You can also modify an existing lesson. On one of the templates I gave for the StoryCorps one, I was really just bored. One of the slides, the collaborative slides that I had, honestly, that assignment I usually gave when I had a sub and I was bored of it and I didn't want kids working individually. So I modified it to be more of a group activity so we can kind of like modify with that. So where could you, in your existing activities that you do, maybe add in that structured student talk where you can add in like group work activities and use the tech tools to hold them accountable, or if we do that. And then feel free, I love sharing stuff. You can modify, make your, any of my templates, you can make them your own and use them and steal them and have a way at them. So this next 45 minutes is really your time to work. You guys are there. Resources, again, we have the presentation here. And then I also want to point out, while I have your attention, is bit.ly/ET portal, or it's on our staff portal, the EdTech portal, is we have a lot of resources there. So if you click on applications and training, all of our district license apps, we have anything that has been created by us or by them, as much as I can find with it. We have links to any of those stuff. So if you want more information about Screencastify, you can find those information there. More about Cami, you're like, that looks really cool, but I've never used it in the classroom. There's resources for Cami there too under our bit.ly portal, and I'll put that back online. And so all of our district EdTech stuff, this is a really great landing page that I highly recommend that you go through. And then also pointing out, I have the Winter Slam stuff here. Once I have it available, I'll also be putting all of the summer symposium stuff on this page too. So there'll be a thing there. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you guys go to work and figure out what you guys are going to be doing with this, and give you guys some work time to incorporate these into your lessons and to plan for the first days of school.
Amber, I think your microphone is off.
Oh my gosh, it is, because it's summer and I'm still getting let me see if I can remember what I just said. So thank you. All right, so I was answering Ashley's question about having written responses. So like something like Padlet. Honestly, Padlet is still probably the best when it comes to that, but I know Padlet, they changed their pricing structure last year, and so we're kind of getting away with it, but they're going to get real expensive soon, so we haven't been advertising it as much. But there's a couple things that we can kind of work around that and have them answer on each other's. One, actually, the best way is Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, in the create assignment, nope, I did the wrong assignment. In Google Classroom, you can pose a question. Oh, let me share the right tab. Okay, I'm in Google Classroom, I'm in classwork, I'm in create. When you can pose a question and make it short answer. So I'm going to say like test question or whatever my question is. Give the instructions here. You can attach any additional files like sentence frames, things like that if you want kids to be using them. And then make sure you set that they can reply to each other. And then if you want them, they can edit each other's answer here. And so I can go ahead and ask this. And then students are going to be able to answer and to reply to each other's questions. I use this feature a lot as an English teacher for the question feature to do when I did independent reading. I would have them each week. They had to write an analysis paragraph of what they read during the week and then respond to their peers and like ask questions. I used it a lot for that. I used a lot for like maybe if they have to write like more in-depth questions or everything, you know, anything from bell ringers to like more in-depth questions, I've used this feature for. So I would say for having something where they can answer and comment on each other's, that is like a written thing, this is what I would go to for it. If it was something that is more like you want a video response and then the kids respond towards like the video, the kind of workaround with that would be like creating the template in Canva. And then I would just say like, I would make like one big slide here, like maybe like here, this is your slide, and then have like spots where kids have to respond to it. I do a lot of like I said, with like collaborative slides. And the other thing I do is in Google Slides, I will have kids, let me just show you, let's see if I can find it. I blanking on the name right now, but I can find the official version of it. But I have kids at the beginning of the year like interview each other. And so we work on a collaborative slide where they're working in partners and then we're writing each other's interviews. And then I have kids, once they get back into individually, they use the comment feature and just comment that way. So you could have kids like in Google Slides do a video and then use the comment tools to like comment on each other's tools like that. So it's a little bit like more steps, but that's kind of a workaround with a couple of those. But for written, definitely use Google Classroom. I think this is an underused feature in Google Classroom, and for the question and having kids respond and go back and forth with their questions with there is like one of my favorite things. But I think it's underused with it. And then, sorry, my comments, like my chat box, like it's become real small because like of all these other Google things that have gone into it. Yeah, and thanks for letting me know. Oh, yeah. So if I was doing like, so I think you mean like if I was the one that I just shared, I would just use it as a recording tool, I think. If I understood your question. Oh, hang on. Okay, I'm just seeing if I answered everybody's question. Like my chat box got it's like real small because it's like share this, and I don't want to share it, but it's not giving me the option to delete what I don't need. And yes, we do have a school account with Adobe Express, so use that. And then I will give you that presentation for the StoryCorps. Also just shout out like they're losing funding, so like support PBS StoryCorps because StoryCorps is part of PBIS. And it's so fantastic. I love StoryCorps and just being able to do it through here. Okay. And then, so a lot of these I would do like as a recording tool to do a pair, share, or give one, get one. So a lot of the times, like for Google Slides, I like having that slide deck and then having kids either like I pre-assign them or having them pick by like groups or just pick a slide where they have to answer something and then they comment directly on there. It is getting a little like Flip was awesome in how they set it up. And so we haven't quite found the best replica of that Screencastify is close, but not as far as like assigning it. I would say the best way is either like having that class deck where they can all see each other's and kind of go through there. The gallery I haven't tried this in a classroom yet, but in classrooms in Adobe Express, the gallery option. So if I create, create gallery, this seems like where we can invite students to edit this, and they would be able to upload their videos and be able to do it through that way and like comment kind of like a Padlet type style. I haven't tried this one in the classroom yet, so if you are interested in doing it, please let me know, and I'd be happy to like support you and like learn it with you with that, as far as like getting it through that way. Most of, I would say, the recording features that I do in class, a lot of it is group presentations or partner discussions, because I think holding kids accountable for those academic conversations that they're having are really important to me. And so that's like, I haven't done so much where the kids are commenting on each other's videos like I used to do with Flip as much. Mostly like now I've had them just like kind of do it in group works and record the group conversation more so than I have had like where we go through each other's. But yeah, that was a very long way, and I don't know if I fully answered the question, but those are kind of what I would do with it. And I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen again because it's summer and I'm getting back into teacher mode. But just to show you what I just did in the classrooms, you can create the gallery here and invite students to be a part of that gallery, and post it to Google Classroom so that they can collaborate on this gallery, so that they can all upload like their animations or upload that, and then be able to see each other's through that way with there too. But I do think like simpler is best. So my go-to ones when it comes to instructions to talk is I would be using vids a lot in the classroom, and the recording in Google Slides. So having assigning group work that way, or having class slides where kids are responding and talking through there. The other thing too with Google Slides is that this recording just becomes, the recording done in Google Slides just becomes part of your drive. So kids, you could have as many videos and as many people responding on Google Slides as possible, like as needed. So you could have like a group, if you didn't want to release it to the whole class, give it to a small group where they have to, you know, say their paragraph or like have their writing on the Google slide, record themselves saying it, and then having kids respond in the comments or respond on the next slide. They have to respond to what the previous person said. And so it does take a little bit more to get the same thing we would have gotten out of Flip, but we can get there.